Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something, well, it's a bit of a mind bender. We're looking into a conspiracy theory that honestly in the last couple of years feels less like a theory and more something you can actually measure.
It really does. We're talking about the dead internet theory.
Yeah, DIT.
Hmm.
And the basic idea, for anyone who hasn't stumbled into this corner of the web yet, is that the internet we think we're using, the place we go for news, connection, cat videos,
All of it.
it essentially died.
Yeah.
Sometime around 2016, maybe 2017.
That's the core claim.
Huh.
And that since then, what we're interacting with is largely fake, an automated wasteland.
It sounds wild, right? But when they say automated, they mean bots, AI, large language models, churning out content, comments, clicks, basically shaping our whole online experience.
Right. Synthetic media replacing organic human interaction. The idea really blew up after a post, I think it was back in 2021, from someone called Illuminate Pirates.
Illumina Pirate, yeah.
Yeah.
Catchy name. But it tapped into this growing unease, this feeling many people have had for years that something's off online.
And what's really strange, almost ironic, is how we're even discussing this. We're using these incredibly advanced digital tools, probably some AI assistants somewhere in the chain, to analyze whether the digital world itself is fundamentally synthetic. The sheer explosion of generative AI lately makes the idea of a mostly fake internet seem, well, not so crazy anymore. Technologically, it's becoming very, very possible.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. We want to dive deep into this theory, separate the, let's say, the more paranoid bits from the actual verifiable data and the tech shifts that make it feel so real.
Because the forces blurring that line between human and machine online, they're accelerating like crazy. It really forces you, the listener, to second-guess pretty much everything you encounter digitally.
Is that tweet real?
Yeah.
Is that comment genuine? Is this product review written by a person or a bot farm?
It goes deeper than just annoyance, though. If the internet is just awash in the synthetic stuff, if we can't trust what we see or who we're talking to, what happens to its function as a place for actual knowledge, for shared understanding?
It erodes trust completely. The whole evidentiary function breaks down. That's the real crisis this theory points towards, even beyond the specific claims.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So when we talk about the dead internet theory, DIT, people shouldn't picture, like, servers shutting down, the lights going off. It's not that kind of dead, right?
No, not at all. It's more like a slow replacement, a structural shift. And it really boils down to two main ideas that kind of feed off each other.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is what they call bot dominance. And this is the part that's maybe easier to see or at least measure. It's the idea that genuine human stuff, real posts, real comments, original ideas has just been pushed aside.
Drowned out, basically.
Exactly. Drowned out by bots, by AI like ChatGPT generating text, by algorithms just pushing whatever gets the most clicks, regardless of whether a human actually made it or if it's even true.
So your social media feed becomes less like a conversation and more like, I don't know, an automated content factory.
That's a good way to put it. Just machines churning out stuff to keep your eyeballs glued, optimizing for engagement metrics, not for genuine connection or information.
Okay, so that's bot dominance. What's the second pillar? This sounds like where it gets a bit more conspiratorial.
It does. The second part is coordinated manipulation. This is the claim that the bot dominance isn't just some accidental byproduct of, algorithms gone wild or platforms being lazy.
Right.
DIT proponents argue it's actually intentional, that there are powerful groups, maybe governments, maybe big corporations, maybe intelligence agencies who are deliberately using this automation.
To do what?
To manipulate what we see and think, to control public perception, maybe suppress views they don't like, and kind of guide everyone into these pre-approved artificial information bubbles.
Wow. So the internet becomes less of a public square and more of a giant invisible control system. Digital gaslighting on a massive scale.
That's the anxiety it taps into. The feeling that the messy, slightly chaotic, user-driven internet of the past has been replaced by something much more controlled, more sterile.
And they point to that specific window, 2016, 2017, as the tipping point.
Yeah, that's the time frame they consistently mention. They argue that's when the sheer scale of automation really crossed a threshold, and the web started to feel, as they put it, kind of lifeless compared to before.
Which interestingly does line up with when platforms like Facebook and Google really doubled down on AI and aggressive recommendation algorithms, optimizing purely for engagement time.
Right. And maybe unintentionally rewarding all this automated content in the process.
This leads to that analogy they use the internet as a Potemkin village. Can you explain that?
Sure. So the original Potemkin villages were these fake painted facades set up along a route Catherine the Great was traveling to make it look like the region was prosperous when it really wasn't.
A big show, basically.
Exactly. And the DIT applies this to the internet. The idea is that what we see, especially through things like search engines, is just the facade. Well, think about search. Google might say it found millions or billions of results for your query. But the theory claims they're actually heavily filtering, maybe even censoring, what gets shown.
So you're only seeing a tiny curated slice.
A very curated slice, yeah. Often dominated by big commercial sites, major platforms, maybe content that's paid to be there, or just stuff that's really good at gaming the algorithm. You're not seeing the deep, diverse web that supposedly exists.
You definitely get that feeling sometimes. You search for something niche and just find the same few articles rewritten slightly across dozens of spammy-looking domains.
That's the lack of depth people talk about, and it gets worse because of something called link rot.
Yeah, when links just stop working.
Exactly. Content disappears constantly, old websites go down, articles get deleted. Studies show a huge chunk of links, especially on social media, just break within a year or two.
So what is constantly decaying?
It's decaying, and search engines are actively pruning what they show you. Combine those, and the DIT argument is that the accessible web, the part you can actually find and interact with, is way smaller and much more managed than we think. It's mostly the facade.
Like digital amnesia combined with a curated reality. It makes you wonder, if knowledge needs understanding and context, how much of what we find online is pre-filtered, pre-digested by algorithms before we even get to judge it?
That's the unsettling question, isn't it? Are we really exploring, or are we just walking through the Potemkin village, never seeing what's actually behind the paint?
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From the theory and the sort of existential dread to the hard numbers, the data, because this is where DIT starts to feel less like a fringe idea and more like, well, just a description of reality.
Right, and that 2016-2017 timeline, there's a huge data point that lands right in the middle of it.
The 52% milestone.
Exactly. This came from a major security company, Imperva. They put out a bot traffic report in 2016, analyzing just billions and billions of web visits.
And what did they find?
For the first time ever recorded, automated traffic bots made up 52% of all internet traffic. More than half.
52%. So in the exact year, the theory says the internet died.
Machines officially became the majority users of the internet. It's a pretty stark alignment of the theory's timeline and actual measured data. You can't really ignore that.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
Humans went from being the main actors online to being outnumbered.
Overnight, statistically speaking. And it wasn't a blip. That trend has largely continued. We see reports year after year confirming it. Even recent data, looking into 2025, puts bot traffic still around 51%, sometimes fluctuating slightly if platforms do a big purge.
But basically, bots remain the majority.
They're fundamentally the dominant force in terms of sheer traffic volume. Humans are now the minority users of the network we built.
Okay, but we need to be careful here. Bot traffic sounds bad, but not all bots are created equal, right? There's a difference.
That's a crucial distinction.
Yep.
Historically, we talked about good bots. These were things like the Google crawler that indexes websites so you can search them.
Essential infrastructure, really.
Yeah, or bots that monitor if a website is up or down, legitimate tools that help the internet function. They were seen as beneficial.
And then there are the bad bots.
Definitely. And those are purely malicious. They're doing things like ad fraud, clicking ads to steal money, or scraping content, trying to hack websites, spreading spam and disinformation.
Nasty stuff.
Really nasty. And some analyses suggest these bad bots alone account for maybe almost a third of all internet traffic now, which is staggering.
Third, just the outright malicious ones. But you mentioned the rise of AI is changing this picture, creating a new category.
Yeah, this is where it gets really complicated and, frankly, quite problematic for the future of the web. We now have this third category, maybe call them the problematic good bots.
Okay. What falls into that?
Primarily, it's the crawlers used by large language models, the AIs like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of them.
How are they problematic? They're just gathering data, aren't they? Like Google's bots.
Well, yes and no. They are gathering data, But they're treating the entire web, all the articles, blog posts, forum discussions, creative writing, everything humans have put online as a giant free buffet for training their models.
Ah, I see. Without asking, without paying.
Pretty much. They ingest massive amounts of human creativity and knowledge, often with zero compensation or even attribution going back to the original creators.
So if you're a writer, an artist, a researcher, you put your work online hoping humans will see it, engage with it, maybe click an ad or subscribe.
Right. But instead, a huge chunk of your traffic might just be these LLM crawlers scraping your content to train an AI that could eventually replace you or devalue your work.
That completely breaks the economic model for creators online.
It does. Why bother creating original content if it's just going to be hoovered up for free by AI companies making billions while you get nothing? It disincentivizes human creation.
So the good bot becomes problematic because it's consuming the very human signal it needs, potentially killing the incentive to produce that signal in the first place.
Exactly. It turns the internet into this weird loop where human effort becomes unpaid fuel for the machine learning economy. That feeds right back into that DIT feeling that the humans are becoming irrelevant, just data sources for the bots.
So 2016 was that statistical tipping point, with bots becoming the majority. What happened more recently feels like a qualitative leap, a different kind of turning point.
You're talking about ChatGPT hitting the scene.
Yeah, late 2022. Before that, AI felt like something big tech companies or governments did in secret labs. DIT discussions were often about these shadowy actors. But ChatGPT changed that completely, didn't it?
Oh, massively. It basically democratized AI content generation overnight. Suddenly, anyone could type a prompt and get remarkably human-like text, code, even decent images.
It wasn't just for elites anymore.
Exactly. It put that power in everyone's hands. And that instantly ramped up the DIT anxiety because the fear became, if anyone can generate plausible sounding content instantly, what happens to actual human writing?
It just gets swamped. Why would a platform wait for a human to slowly type out a comment or an article when an AI can churn out thousands in seconds?
Precisely. This brings us to the concept of scale asymmetry. It's a fundamental imbalance.
Okay, explain that.
Think about human creators. We're limited, right? We can only really focus on one thing at a time. We get tired, need sleep, have attention spans. Our output is inherently finite, linear.
Bound by biology, basically.
Right, but AI agents, they don't have those limits. They can run simultaneously on thousands, millions of servers. They work 247. The cost to generate one more piece of text, one more image, trends towards zero.
No friction.
No friction. So you have limitless near zero cost, parallel production on the AI side versus limited, costly linear production on the human side. It's not a fair fight.
The sheer volume of AI content will inevitably overwhelm human content. It's just math.
It's a mathematical certainty, and that leads to some, frankly, terrifying predictions about where this is heading and how fast.
Like the one from the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies.
Yeah, they looked at the capabilities of models like GPT-3 and its successors and made a pretty stark forecast.
What do they predict?
They estimated that by sometime between 2025 and 2030, so like really soon, somewhere between 99% and 99.9% of all content online could be AI generated.
99.9%. That's almost everything.
Pretty much everything. Think about that. If only 0.1% of what you encounter online is actually created by a human, the internet becomes something completely different. Unrecognizable, as they put it.
How do you even find the human signal in that? How do you find genuine discussion, real opinions, actual facts?
It becomes incredibly difficult, maybe impossible at scale. The signal-to-noise ratio flips completely. It's almost all noise.
And compounding this volume problem is the fact that we're losing our ability to even tell the difference, right? The whole Turing test idea.
Yeah, the classic test. Can a machine fool a human into thinking it's human? For decades, that was the benchmark.
Have the machines passed?
Decisively. There was a significant study, I believe, from UC San Diego researchers published around 2025. They had people chat for 5 minutes, either with another person or with GPT 4.5, a very advanced AI.
Okay, what were the results?
The results were stunning. When people were actually chatting with the AI, they believed it was a human 73% of the time.
73%. Wow. So nearly 3/4 of the time, the AI successfully pretended to be human in a short conversation.
Exactly. It means the gold standard for telling human from machine. It's broken. Our basic intuition, our gut feeling about whether we're talking to a person or a program can be reliably fooled by current AI.
That's huge. If we can't even trust a simple chat interaction, what does that mean for everything else? News, social media, commerce.
It undermines trust across the board. If
Ah.
you can't verify the source, if you can't tell human from bot, how can you believe anything you read online? This is where the dead internet theory really shifts from abstract speculation to a tangible, unfolding crisis of trust. Here's where it gets really interesting.
And this crisis of trust, this flood of AI content, it leads to some really weird places online. Which brings us to AI slop. I love that term. What exactly is it?
Yeah, it's evocative, isn't it? AI slop is basically just low quality, often nonsensical, AI-generated stuff. Text, images, maybe even video clips. It's not made to be good or informative. It's just made to exist.
To fill space. Game algorithm.
Exactly. To manipulate search rankings or maybe just generate ad clicks. It's like digital junk mail, but weirder and much more pervasive.
And the poster child for this has to be the shrimp Jesus phenomenon on Facebook.
Oh, Shrimp Jesus. Yeah, that was a perfect, almost surreal example of how this works. You had these bizarre AI-generated images popping up everywhere.
How were they?
Often variations on religious figures, like Jesus, but fused with, well, shrimp or other crustaceans, holding weird objects, just visually arresting and strange.
Designed purely to catch the eye and stop people scrolling.
Precisely. Maximum algorithmic appeal through sheer novelty and weirdness. And Meta's algorithms, tuned for engagement above all else, just amplified them like crazy. They went viral.
But the weird part wasn't just the images, it was the comments, right?
That's what made it a perfect loop.
Yeah.
These Shrimp Jesus posts would get thousands of interactions, but the comments were often just bots. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of comments simply saying, amen.
Just amen.
Yeah, or maybe other very short, generic, positive phrases. So you had AI generating the image, algorithms promoting it, and bots engaging with it. A completely closed synthetic system driving viral content.
Humans optional.
Pretty much. Just machines talking to machines mediated by algorithms with this weird shrimp deity as the subject. It's absurdity revealing the underlying mechanics.
And it seems like the platforms are almost leaning into this. Meta talking about introducing AI accounts with profiles and backstories.
Yeah, that's another step, isn't it? If platforms start deploying autonomous AI personas that look like users, have profiles, post content, how does the average person ever tell the difference? It normalizes the synthetic presence.
You won't know if you're interacting with your cousin, a brand's chatbot, or some autonomous AI agent.
Right. And we see similar dynamics on other platforms like Twitter or X, as it's now known. The incentives there seem to have actively encouraged bot activity for a long time.
The numbers thrown around for bots on Twitter X are just wild.
They really are. Some analyses have estimated that maybe 60%, even 64% of accounts could be bots. And at peak times, estimates suggest over three-quarters, 76% of all traffic might be automated.
So it's an environment primarily run by and for machines.
Which makes manipulation incredibly easy. You see these waves of repetitive, slightly strange content designed purely to game the system.
Like those I hate texting tweets.
Oh yeah, that was a classic. You'd see thousands of tweets suddenly appear, all starting with something relatable like, I hate texting, but then adding a slightly weird, maybe romantic twist like, I just want to paint your portrait.
Just slightly off.
Slightly off and massively replicated. Clearly not genuine human sentiment, but designed to hit engagement metrics and appear like a real trend. It's mimicking the shape of human interaction without the substance.
And this idea of fake activity overwhelming the real thing, there was that concept from inside YouTube, wasn't there? The inversion.
Right, that was reportedly a term used by engineers there. It describes a terrifying possibility.
What was the fear?
The fear was that fake views bought from click farms were becoming so common, so prevalent on the platform, that their own anti-fraud systems might start to see the fake views as the normal baseline, the statistical default.
And if fake becomes the baseline,
then the system risks misclassifying actual, real human viewers as the anomaly, as suspicious activity. Your fraud detection flips and starts potentially blocking real users.
That's a total breakdown of authenticity at the system level. When the fakes become the majority, the system can't tell real from fake anymore.
Exactly. It's a statistical collapse. And we know this fake view business was huge. There were stories about single operations selling hundreds of millions of fake views, making millions of dollars.
It's industrialized fraud feeding this synthetic layer.
And what's fascinating here is how these platforms, initially built for connection, became these giant data sources for AI training. Look at Reddit.
Yeah.
For years, Reddit's data, all those human conversations, arguments, niche discussions, was basically scraped for free by AI companies to train their models. That's a big part of why LLMs got so good.
It was a treasure trove of real human language.
Absolutely. And the moment Reddit tried to start charging serious money for access to its API, it just proved how valuable that human data had become in a world increasingly filled with AI text.
They were trying to put the genie back in the bottle, maybe protect their core asset.
Right. But it highlights this dangerous feedback loop. What happens when the next generation of AI models are trained not on the classic Reddit human data, but on newer content that's already heavily polluted by previous generations of AI?
Ah, the AI starts eating its own tail.
Kind of. Computer scientists call it model collapse or data suffering. If AI trains primarily on AI-generated content, the quality can degrade, it can become distorted, lose touch with reality, develop weird biases.
So as AI slop fills platforms like Reddit, future AIs trained on that slop might just get worse
Roar.
or stranger.
That's the concern. You end up in this digital echo chamber where the AI is just reflecting distorted versions of itself, further drowning out any remaining human signal. It's a system consuming itself.
Okay, so we've got bots dominating traffic, AI generating content at an impossible scale, platforms potentially amplifying fake activity, and even the training data getting corrupted. It sounds pretty bleak. Why is the internet so bad at defending against this? Why can't we just filter out the fakes?
Well, the fundamental problem goes right back to the beginning, to the internet's basic architecture.
How so?
The original protocols, things like HTTP, TCP/IP, they were designed brilliantly for one thing: delivery. Getting data packets from A to B quickly and reliably.
Okay, makes sense.
But they were not designed with verification or trust in mind. The builders just didn't anticipate a world filled with millions of autonomous, potentially malicious agents.
They assumed the users were mostly trustworthy humans, maybe?
Or at least that verifying identity wasn't the network's job. And that design choice has three really critical consequences in today's world.
Really?
First, there's no inherent identity. The network itself doesn't really know who is sending a request. It just sees an IP address, which can be easily faked, masked, or changed using VPNs or botnets.
So anonymity is built in.
Pretty much. Second, there's no provenance. The protocols move data, but they don't have a built-in way to track where that data originally came from, who created it, or if it's been tampered with along the way.
The history gets lost immediately.
Instantly. Once a picture or text leaves its origin, the network doesn't preserve its backstory. And that leads to the third, maybe most crucial problem for fighting bots: forgetfulness by design.
What do they mean?
The network is essentially stateless. It treats almost every interaction, every request as a brand new event, independent of what came before.
So it doesn't remember.
It doesn't inherently link actions together. This means a botnet using 1 million different IP addresses to send one request each looks exactly the same to the network as 1 million different real people sending one request each.
Ah, so that makes it super easy for bots to scale up and overwhelm systems without looking like a single attacker.
Exactly. That forgetfulness is a feature that bots exploit massively. The architecture itself enables them.
Okay, so the foundations are weak. But we've had defenses for years, right? Things like KPCH.
We have, but those defenses were like Band-Aids, trying to patch the symptoms without fixing the underlying architectural issues. And now, those Band-Aids are just ripping off.
How so? KPTCHAs, first those annoying click the traffic lights things.
They're basically defeated. Modern AI vision models can solve most CAPI-CHAs faster and more accurately than humans can. There are even automated CAPI-CHA services bots can use. Google itself admitted their main recap TCHA was being beaten by bots well over 90% of the time years ago.
So that friction is gone. What about AI content detectors? Tools that claim to spot AI-written text.
That's turned into a losing arms race. The AI models generating the text are getting better and better at mimicking human writing styles, even adding deliberate imperfections to fool the detectors.
The generator learns how to beat the detector.
Right. And the detectors often have high false positive rates. They flag real human writing, especially from people who aren't native English speakers or have unique writing styles, as AI generated. That destroys trust in the detectors themselves.
Okay, what about simpler stuff, like just blocking bad IP addresses or limiting how fast they can make requests?
Yeah.
Rate limiting.
That worked okay against older, simpler bots coming from one place. But modern botnets are incredibly sophisticated. They're distributed across millions of compromised computers, servers, even home internet connections all over the world.
So blocking one IP does nothing.
It's like playing whack-a-mole on a global scale. They just route traffic through countless different IPs, basic Rate limiting and IP blocking just don't work against these massive distributed attacks. The band-aids have failed.
So if the old defenses are broken and the foundation is flawed, what's the answer? We have to rebuild trust somehow, right?
We do. And
Yeah.
the consensus emerging among security experts and technologists is that we have to treat trust not as a moderation problem, but as an engineering problem. We need to build verification and authenticity into the architecture itself.
A fundamental shift. What would that look like?
It probably needs at least 3 core pillars. The first is proof of origin. We need ways to cryptographically verify that a piece of content, an image, a video, a text, was actually created by a specific real person on a real device at a real time and place.
That sounds technically challenging. How do you stop a bot just faking that proof?
This is where specialized hardware comes in. Some companies, like OpenOrigins, are working with things called Trusted Execution Environments, or TEEs.
T's.
Yeah, think of them as secure, locked-down little vaults inside the processor of your phone or computer. They can perform operations and generate cryptographic proof that's isolated from the main operating system, meaning malware or bots can't easily tamper with it.
So the hardware itself guarantees the authenticity.
It can guarantee that this specific device, operated by its authenticated user, created this specific piece of content at this moment. It generates a verifiable digital signature right at the source before the content even hits the network. Hardware-based truth.
Okay, so proof it came from a real personal device. What's pillar number 2?
The second is immutable lineage. We need secure, permanent records like a blockchain, potentially that track the history of a piece of content. Who created it? When was it modified? Who accessed it?
An unbreakable audit trail.
Exactly. So you can see if that image supposedly from a war zone was actually generated by AI last week, or if that quote has been taken out of context and edited. It prevents synthetic media from being laundered and passed off as real.
Proof of origin and immutable lineage. What's the third pillar? This sounds like it tackles the economics.
It has to. We need agent-aware economics. The current internet basically lets bots scrape everything for free. That scrape now, pay never model has to change.
How?
By building mechanisms for programmable friction, especially for automated agents. This means machine-readable ways for websites or creators to say, hey, bot, if you want to access or reuse my data, there's a price, or you need permission.
So making the bots pay, essentially.
Or at least requiring them to operate within defined rules and consent frameworks. We need to shift the default from everything is free for machines to access requires negotiation.
Are people actually building this?
Yeah, there are concrete examples starting to emerge. Cloudflare, for instance, has pushed for a web standard called HTTP 402, which basically means payment required. It allows sites to signal to crawlers that access isn't free.
Okay.
And other groups are developing protocols like BitGPT's 402 Pay, specifically designed for tiny, automated micropayments between machines at the protocol level. If an AI wants to query data or use an API, it might cost a fraction of a cent, paid instantly.
That changes the game entirely. Suddenly, scraping the whole web isn't free for AI companies. Scale asymmetry gets an economic brake pedal.
Exactly. It aims to reintroduce economic reality for machine actions, potentially making human creativity valuable again, and maybe, just maybe, slowing down the flood of purely synthetic content generated just because it's cheap. It's about re-architecting the web for a world with bots.
So, okay, we've gone through the theory, the data, the tech, the failures, the potential solutions. Bringing it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you, just trying to use the internet day to day?
I think it means accepting 2 fundamental things are happening simultaneously. First, the stuff DIT talks about, the bot traffic, the AI content that's not really a theory anymore, it's a measurable reality. Bots are the majority traffic. AI is generating vast amounts of content. That part is verifiable.
Okay, reality number 1. The bots are here, the AI is here.
Right, and reality number 2 is the consequence. A serious, undeniable erosion of trust and authenticity online. It's becoming harder and harder to know what's real, who to believe, and that's damaging the internet's ability to function as a reliable space for information and human connection.
So the debate isn't really about whether the internet is literally dead, like a switch flipped off.
No, it's more about whether it's losing its vitality, its trustworthiness. Is it losing its capacity to serve as evidence, as a place for genuine discovery and shared understanding? That seems to be happening. That statistical collapse of authenticity is real.
It feels like the metaphor has shifted. The internet used to be called the information superhighway, implying exploration and discovery. Now, Maybe it's more like an algorithmically curated giant mall.
That's a good analogy. A mall is designed to keep you inside, show you things it thinks you'll like based on past behavior, guide you towards purchases. It's optimized for passive consumption within predictable pathways, not necessarily for challenging you or showing you something truly unexpected or original from another human mind.
Which leads to the final, maybe unsettling thought for everyone listening. If those predictions are even close to right, if 99% or even 99.9% of online content becomes AI generated in the near future,
Yeah.
how will you personally navigate that? How will you ensure you're actually learning something real, connecting with genuine human thought, and not just being managed by an algorithm? How do you find the 0.1%?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Finding the real signal in an ocean of sophisticated noise. That's the core question. The dead internet theory, stripped of its more extreme elements, forces us all to grapple with as we live more of our lives online. How do we maintain authenticity in an increasingly synthetic world?